Hi guys. Today was a long day, and I had stated to a few other people that once I got 20 questions, hard questions, off of random sites that I'm on, would I answer them? And I'd like to do that. I've reached 20 and I would love to answer some of these questions and let you as the viewer listen to my answers. So here we go. So, question 1. When you were diagnosed with DID, how long did it take you to accept it? When I was diagnosed with DID, I didn't accept it right away. It actually took me 5 years to accept the diagnosis. And I fought with it a lot. And even still over the years, there are times where I fight with it. I think the biggest wake-up call for me was when I started reading about it and started learning about it with legit sites and legit psychologists and research. And I'll be honest with you, I think the biggest wake-up call was having Colin Ross respond to one of my emails and helping me to find somebody to help work with me with the therapy itself. And I don't know, it's been a long journey with that, and even today I hate it, and I will always hate it, and I want it gone. And I think that's why I probably work so hard, is because I don't want it. And the fact that it causes a lot of ailments is another reason I don't want it. So I hope that answers that question. Question number 2. What medications do you have to take? When I first was put on disability and diagnosed with a dissociative disorder, I was put on an antidepressant. I do believe it was called Pristiq, and it had horrible side effects. I'll be honest with you, it darn near killed me. After that, they tried different medications and they didn't work. They would try everything under the sun to try and get something to work for me. The medications I take today, the only one that is a psychotic med is Xanax. And usually I do not want to take it or refuse to take it unless my therapist or my husband or someone feels that it is necessary to take it, per se. If I fight 3 days of sleep, or an alter has been out for a long, an angry alter has been out for a long time, and we're not able to deal with the emotions that they cause, then I am asked to take a Xanax to get that 4 to 5 hour rest to somewhat come back to normal. As far as other medications, the only thing that I take is dicyclomine for my IBS issues and high blood pressure meds. However, I do take I do take, for the severe fibromyalgia that I have, I take CBD gummies or CBD oils. Usually they don't have THC in them, so I don't get the high, but the pain stops. So I would say that's my main medications. I try to avoid medications as much as humanly possible. I prefer natural therapy. Due to the fact that medications with my autoimmunity never work like they're supposed to. So I hope that answers that question. Question 3. Why do you never announce your alters on your videos? I'm actually not the only creator that does that. There's quite a few of them that I know, that I follow, that do not do that either. I don't think it's helpful. I honestly don't. The idea is to heal from DID and to do the research on DID, and I don't see the reason to put alters' names out there to do so. I have 10 alters, and I have partial awareness with most of them happening. So to me, it doesn't pay to announce what alters out. To me, it doesn't help with the therapy, honestly. Do I talk about all of them? Yes, I do. Do I talk about their stories? Yes, I do. As far as letting them out on video footage, it just doesn't seem moral to me and logical. it's pointless to me. However you all do it's fine, but I don't. So I hope that answers that question. Number 4, how do you control your littles in public or at home? Littles can be a pain in the butt, but you have to love them and you have to accept them and you have to let them out at various times, because if you don't, you get overwhelmed and your system gets cranky and your noise in your head gets really loud. Control is based on the reparenting role that I was taught through the Colin Ross techniques that my therapist uses. Most of the time, there are rules for littles, and your therapist can help give your littles rules as you would as a parent. I recommend, again, reading Kathy Glass books and Casey Watson books. They're foster caring books, and they give excellent parenting techniques. And what we did was we had our teens and some of our younger alters, like 14 and 12, read. Even though 12 is a disabled alter and is blind, she will, however, she'll take a book at night and she'll crawl under the blanket and read under the blanket. All of our alters read. It's something that is very grounding for us, and it keeps us away from the medication. So as far as public, have I had littles pop out? Yes, but they've never made a scene. They're very quiet, they're very shy, they're very scared, as would a real child in an abusive situation. Most children that are traumatized are quiet until they are taken out of that traumatic situation. So my littles are pretty private, and they're pretty quiet, and they're pretty scared. Most of them have had severe trauma, so they don't dance around, they don't act silly. They're quiet, shy children. A lot of things scare them, little things, noises, sounds, mirrors, people, men especially, things like that. So but will they touch a toy when they're at the store? Yes, they have I'm gonna be honest with you. There's been times where I'm trying to walk down the aisle and my hand will automatically turn on a button that says try me. It's embarrassing, but they're not hurting anybody, so that's a good thing. I let it slide. As far as hospitals and things like that, have they popped out because they're stressed, or I'm stressed, or an alter is stressed? Yes. Medication, like even medications, can cause switching. So they pop out once in a while. It's not very long though. It always seems like 15 minutes to a half an hour tops. And because of my heart rate being raised and because of the way their bodies work, even though we're in the same body, they will cause a fluctuation in my heart rate, a fluctuation in my blood pressure. And it's such an overwhelming feeling that littles actually will get really tired and they'll get woozy and goofy to where they leave. So I hope that answers. Number 5, what does your spouse do to help support you? My husband of 14 years is a very big support. I'll be honest with you, we support each other. He is very good with most of the alters. He doesn't see the littles very often, and when he does, they won't really they'll communicate with him, but they don't want to be seen. So a lot of times littles are out, especially at night, not usually during the day, and he'll hear them talking, or he'll hear them giggling, or he'll hear them, my kids, I have 2 girls, and they sometimes like to crawl in and into the bed and hang out and talk with the littles because they get scared. And he's very supportive, but he also keeps distance because they're scared. As far as support wise in the adult world, he works very long hours, and he's worked the same job over 20 years. And he works that job because of the insurance. It's almost the best insurance in the nation, and he will do anything and everything to keep that so I can continue to heal. And he also has his own side issues. He just got over hip surgery just recently. This will be his 5th or 6th hip surgery. And we support each other and we take care of each other. And, so he's very helpful, very patient with me. He's dealt with my DID for a long time, and he's known about it since pretty much the day we were married. He just didn't have a name with it the first 5-6 years, but now he knows. So hope that answers that question. Number 6, do your children know you have DID? Absolutely. Absolutely. They knew something wasn't right with mommy, probably about around the ages of 3 or 4 years old. They just didn't know quite what it was. And then when they got older and started understanding things more around the ages of 10 to 12 years old, then they were aware of it. They knew how to handle it. And it's always never been an issue. I'm told I'm a great parent. I parent really well. My kids are very smart. One of them's, 13 years old, and she gets pretty much straight A's, doesn't miss school, has lots of friends. My DID does not affect my children. If anything, it makes them more understanding and more patient. My 20-year-old, same deal. She works 2 jobs and does artwork on the side, and she does very well. And she's actually doing a trip fairly soon this fall, and she chooses to stay single for her own personal reasons. And she's a very smart girl and very passionate girl. So I hope that answers that question. Number 7, what do switches feel like for you? At first, when I didn't really know about the DID and how to handle it, I would end up in the ER. I thought I was dying. There would be a lot of spells over the years that I couldn't figure out why I felt sick and why they couldn't give me an answer to what was going on. My switches are very intense. Have I had light switches? Yes. The older the altar is, it seems like the less intense, but littles, I get very, that feeling, and I tell everybody this, that feeling right before you're getting ready to throw up, and there's that hot rush, and you just kind of can't move, and you're just like, oh, it's like that. And the littler they are, the harder it is. The problem with altars is they're set in that past time period where they're still set at 16 years old, 4 years old, 6 years old, 12 years old. So their heart rates change, their blood pressure changes, their body temperature changes. They cause fluctuation, and depending on their fears and emotions, it can be pretty hard on the body. So switches are very difficult for me. As time goes on and I start to get better, I'm getting used to, okay, this is going to happen. I'm fine. My therapist constantly repeats, you're in my office, you're here with me, you're fine. So that's how kind of switches work for us. And as time goes on, it gets a little less intense and a little better as we go on. So I hope that answers that question. This was another question, number 8. Why do you do videos of TikTok systems having fun, and why do they bother you? It depends on the video. I'm very selective on it because I don't want to hurt anybody. But if there is somebody publicly humiliating somebody else or bullying somebody else, or they're showing inappropriate content displaying the disorder, then yes, I will show their videos. And I will continue to do that because it can be dangerous and stigmatizing to new and old systems trying to heal, because like they say, everybody's symptoms are different. Everybody's trauma is different. So usually if it's like a bullying way, or they're making fun or cosplaying littles, there are real systems that do show their littles, and I do not attack them. But if you're cosplaying it, then it's a problem for me, because it's not real depiction of DID, it's cosplaying it. And to me, that's false information. So I'm very selective. Bullying is another thing. If I see people constantly harassing other people for asking an honest and legit question, then I got a problem. As far as another thing that I have an issue with is satanic or fictive altars being displayed in a cosplay manner. There are real people that do suffer from demonic and spiritual altars, and to use filters and give them altars filters to depict themselves is immoral and wrong, I feel, in my own opinion. So that's why I do that. Does it bother me? To a point. Like I said, there are times when you can have fun and you can display it publicly. However, if you're doing it in an inappropriate manner that's not displaying the disorder as it should be, then I have a problem with it. So I hope that answers that question. Number 9. Have you ever had littles pop out while driving or during intimacy? Yes, I have. And it's very scary and it's very difficult. That's why over the years of intense therapy, we have learned, my husband goes to therapy, my kids go to therapy, and I go to therapy. This helps for them to understand what they need to do if this situation does happen, and for me to set up boundaries and guidelines, for my littles to learn that it's not safe. And as far as intimacy, it's barely and never at all, because it's so traumatizing for me. I don't enjoy it as much as one altar does. And that particular altar takes on that responsibility. I, however, do not. Driving, yes, I've had littles where my eyes have, in the past, now keep in mind, I have done intense therapy to where my therapist has taught me techniques about driving and how to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So I do have a video on that. It is in my YouTube. You may look it up and watch it, explaining the techniques that are used. There are good grounding triggers. And I call them triggers because there's certain perfumes, certain sounds of the keys rattling, things like that. I play a German CD in my vehicle when I'm driving because there are 4 of us that know that that's music is meant for us. So there's ways to train yourself to do that. Some people are not able to drive. I am to a point. I do not drive where I don't know where I'm going. I do not drive in places that are too difficult for me. It's just there are, like I said, some of us that do drive, we know the area, we know the routes, and that's best. If we don't stress, everything's fine. So I hope that answers that. All right, number 10, and this was a good one. Is it true you hunt with DID? Isn't that dangerous? Yes, I do hunt. I live out in the woods, and our source of food for meat-wise is venison. Is it dangerous? Hunting is always dangerous. It doesn't matter if I have DID or not. There are specific altars, a male altar and a female altar in our system that, yes, has been hunting since we were 5 years old. We know we've done the standard hunter safety courses. We've passed them with flying colors. So for us, hunting is a normal thing around here. It's how we survive. My system and abuse is built different than other systems. Hunting and surviving and plowing and shoveling and cutting wood and living in nature is how we were raised to survive. So hunting has been something of very high standards and safety, and we also deer management here, which means we don't kill anything that's under a year, under a certain age, under a certain amount of horn count. So anything under 6 point, it usually isn't shot unless it's for the youth, which means anybody under the age of 18 that hasn't gotten a deer yet. So we have some pretty high standards here. We also take very well care of our deer. We manage them legally and properly. So I hope that answers that question. Number 11, how do you control your altars so well? Well, my dear, years and years of intense therapy. My therapist uses EMDR, CBT, EFT, DBT. She also bases her therapy on the reparenting role. And the reparenting role is basically, she, in a way, every office visit, she parents us and she guides us. And then she teaches anybody that's older, older alters and me, how to parent the littles. And those techniques have helped a lot. Controlling altars, it can be a good thing and a bad thing. It depends on how you use it. Hence, I always say DID is a gift and a curse. You can curse yourself with it, with the control, but you can gift it by giving yourself freedom by using somewhat good control methods. Grounding techniques. I use a lot of grounding techniques. One is the 5 tapping points here, 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 and here. That can help me ground myself to get out of a dissociative episode. A lot of people that know me, I have a mosquito, know me that I also walk a lot. So if I start getting dissociative or I start getting that feeling, I will get up and walk. I always do. It's just a method that has worked. Another thing is 5 things you can see, 5 things you can smell, and 5 things you can touch. Those are grounding tools. And another thing you see me do is I'm constantly playing with my hands. I'm constantly fidgeting. I have fidget tools. Another method is 8D music, which is bilateral stimulation music, or neurodivergent. It's called all 3. That can be useful as well. So there are a lot of techniques with this reparenting role that can help you ground and help you control switches. Sometimes it's inevitable. It's going to happen, and then you just have to bear through it, So that's basically the best advice I can give on that. There are other videos that talk about these issues and techniques, all in my YouTube videos. So I hope that helps. Number 12, how do you connect with your teen alters and stop their bad behavior? A lot of work. Teens have traumatic pasts. At least mine do. Very, very traumatic past. And so the best thing I can recommend for that is to have your therapist reparent them, teach them good teen behavior. And I'm going to repeat again, if you can get your teens to read or even do audiobooks, Kathy Glass is the #1 series I recommend. As a foster carrier, her techniques will help your teen alters to be better, to stop this bad behavior. Each book is based on a child that has a mental illness or a disorder. And she works with these children because she's the #1 foster carrier in that area to deal with those issues. And each technique she uses can be used to help. Mosquito again. Technique. Sorry, distracted. So I recommend that. As far as stopping them in their bad behavior, it's all based on your therapist's techniques and helping you to learn better control. Teen alters are actually not bad. They are in pain and they're stuck in a past time period. And once they start getting that awareness, they start to connect with you more on how to deal with those issues. So, number 13, why do some other systems say you attack them, and do you? No, I do not personally attack other systems. I do not go on their page and literally harass them. I have not and will not, and not once have I ever done that. However, if I do see their public videos displaying an immoral behavior, I will point it out. I do not literally attack them. It's childish. I don't see the point. So I hope that answers that question. And there's been rumors that I, make up accounts and do all this and do all that. Why? What's the point? I don't need validation and I don't need to prove myself to anybody. I'm healing and nobody else's opinion really matters to me unless it's got some logic behind it. And I'm kind of past that. I'd like to continue to do the learning videos and deal with my personal life the way I wish to. And as far as other people attacking me, yeah, they've been pretty ruthless, but I look at it as a child not getting a lollipop after doing bad behavior, and they're going to kick their feet. They're going to have a fit. So as a parent, I'm just going to do what a parent does and continue with my firmness on knock it off, behave. You're not going to get this, and you have a choice. Either back down and, let me do my content and my work, or you're going to be shown for your immoral behavior. That's all I can say on that. And that's my own personal opinion again. So hope that helps answer that question. Number 14, does everyone you have in your life, like family and friends, know you have DID, and how do you deal with it? Yes, everybody that surrounds me, including neighbors that come up from other states, everybody knows I have it. Everybody has seen issues with it. And here's the thing, it's not like this big dramatic thing when you switch. They literally, it takes them a bit to get to know me before they even realize, oh, she switched. It's not really that noticeable. It's not like the displays on TikTok and whatnot. It just doesn't work that way. It's actually, as Colin Ross had stated, it's more like a mood change. Voice variations can change, gestures, body posture, all that can change. So I hope that answers that question. And as far as like people that see me in public, do they know of a switch? Not really. As far as a trigger and a panic attack, if an altar switches out and doesn't move or doesn't talk, yes. Hence the medical bracelet, because I have had episodes in public where I am unable to function. Not lately, since the healing has been going really well, but in the past. So I hope that helps answer that question. 15. What are things you do to help prevent switches? I actually just kind of acknowledged that. There's a lot of things you can do to help prevent switches. Walking, grounding, music, reading. There's so much. Actually, I have tons of videos. If you go in some of my YouTube videos, I do explain a lot of education on switching and how to help prevent intense switches or triggers or flashbacks. Usually it's fear and panic that causes switches. Are there times where switches can be forced? Yes, per se, you have a family member that has been abusive to you or has treated you badly. Another altar will take front to handle that situation. It's getting better to where I'm trying to handle it on my own, but most of the time there is always a dominant altar that will take on that role. So 16, what is the hardest part of your therapy? The hardest part of my therapy? How do I put this? It's usually not... My issue is first walking into the door. I always feel enclosed and scared. Once I sit down and settle, it's not so bad. The problem is I switch a lot more in therapy because I want to let my altars heal. So there are times where I just let it go. I'm working on being out more now than I did before. I think the hardest part, though, is towards the middle or end of therapy, when an altar, usually a smaller altar or a very disabled altar or a very traumatized altar, will show me a memory. So what happens is an altar wants to show me what they remember so I can remember. And I would say that's the hardest part of therapy. And it's not even seeing the trauma happen. It's the emotion and the pain in my body that bothers me the most. Hence the reason why I'll just go, I don't want to do this anymore. No. My therapist will go, what do you see? Remember, you're in my office. It's fine. Watch it, see if you can get through it. And I think that's the hardest thing in therapy is the emotion and because I literally will feel the pain again. It's a somatic symptom that comes with this disorder, to where when you're seeing a trauma, your body will literally feel the intense pain or, the trauma. I don't want to go into detail about that because I don't want to trigger anybody, but I hope that makes sense, and I hope that answers that question. Question 17. If you could recommend other YouTubers on DID, who would you recommend? Actually, I have two of them that I do follow, and they're talking about the disorder is very, very well done. They're very smart people. I would recommend the Infinity System for one. He's legit. He's honest. He's upfront. I like that. I like people who are just going to be upfront and honest about how this works. And he seems to stick with that. And I love that about him. Another one is Dissociative Identity Disorder in a Nutshell. Shirley is very educated, she's integrated, and she's very knowledgeable on the disorder. Those are the only two I actually follow because they keep it real and they keep it honest and they don't display immoral behavior. And I like the idea of how they keep it real and accurate, and that's the way it should be. So I hope that answers that question. Number 18. What type of therapy does your therapist recommend, and what is the hardest part of it? Actually, we just touched bases with that. What type of therapy does your therapist recommend? My therapist, again, does the reparenting role based on Colin Ross's trauma model, psychotherapy. Again, EMDR, CBT, EFT, and DBT is used. And what is the hardest part about it? I would say the hardest part about it, again, and I'm going to bring it up numerously, is going into the flashbacks. Allow yourself to do it. It's the only way. It's the only way to get your memory back. It's the only way to heal. And it's very difficult, but it's worth it. Another thing I recommend is, staying calm and listening to your therapist's voice. Therapists know what they're doing. That specialists that deal with this disorder, they are very, it may feel like they're hurting you or attacking you. They're not. They need that. That's their job. They need you to heal, and to do that, you have to go into that trauma, and you have to feel that trauma, and it's difficult. But once you get through it, the feeling that you get after, I can't even describe it. It's like heaven. It's like a relief. Every time I go through that traumatic issue and my body shakes and I'm in pain and I feel all that. But when it's done and I viewed it, it's the most relieving, quiet feeling. And I wish I could share that with all of you. It's such a good feeling. I don't even know. I can't even explain. It's like heaven. That's all I can say. So, question 19. I was told by other systems that learning about my DID could hurt my healing. Is that true? No. That's the most horrible thing people could tell you. Learning about your DID is your best healing method. In fact, the more you learn, the better it is. But I state this to be careful. Learning about it on TikTok is not your answer. People on there are healing in a chaotic phase, and it's not healthy. I haven't even been on TikTok the full 8 to 20 years I've been learning this. Most of my experience has been through honest content. Books are a good way. I have a lot of recommendations below if you're interested, or read other books. I also recommend real documentaries and real articles like NAMI, Psychology Today, Colin Ross, Caroline Spring, Melissa Kaufman. All these psychologists have been working with thousands and thousands of patients. So it's not just one person's word. All the stuff you learn from them is going to help you heal. And if you can't read, do audiobooks. Watch. Some of them have YouTube videos. They're very helpful. The thing is, the best thing you could do is, if you're in therapy, ask your therapist, if there's stuff that she could recommend that you read and learn from. Usually therapists want to help you move along, and they know when it's best to do that. So I would go that route. Okay, question 20. I was actually, and it was kind of an attacking question on my channel, and so I took it down. I didn't think it was appropriate, but I'm going to explain this question as best as I can in a non-bullying way, and I'm going to answer it. Number 20. How can you remember your trauma if you have DID? Doesn't it have amnesia as one of the symptoms? And I'm stating this in a less attacking manner, but the person that put it had swear words and things like that. So here's the deal with that. It's called healing. And if you have therapy and you work at it, and like me, I do 4 to 6 hour sessions a week. And I work very hard at healing it because I do not like my DID. And as time goes on, you start to get your memory back. Do you still have amnesia? Yeah. But it gets better. So when you mock me for being able, when I had mentioned that I plan on having a documentary about my life story, I've been writing my life story, and my alters have been writing in diaries, notebooks, you name it. And here's the thing: DID is like a puzzle, and you got 1,000 pieces, and each piece puts a memory back. And you keep building it, and you keep building it. And pretty soon you have this beautiful picture. It may not be the perfect picture, and there may be some things you don't care about it. But the thing is, you're getting them pieces back. So yeah, amnesia's there. But I've been at this 20 years. I've also had 8 years of intense therapy. And over that time, I've gotten pieces of my memory back. And I've been writing a book for almost 16, 17 years. I started writing my story when I was 14 years old. And Altar 14 kept a diary, because that was the one thing that our counselor at that time that was helping us get through court and the first-degree sexual assault charges for 4 years of abuse told us to do. You know, so that's what we did. We wrote. And we've been writing ever since, all of us. So it puts pieces together and it makes a book. And I also have pictures and videos of my brother videotaped a lot of situations in my life he didn't even know he caught. And during that time, those brought pieces of my memory back. Photos, toys, songs, all these things can put your memory back. They're pieces of a puzzle. Altars will carry things with them, and you won't even know it. These are things you can take to therapy. They're tools. Use them. You know, even if it's difficult. Dumb things. You know? So, well, that's my 20 questions, and that's all I have today. And I hope you found this useful, and you're more than welcome to use this in your therapy if need be. Excuse me. I just want to say that, you know, I'm glad that these questions were brought up, and I'm more than happy to answer questions. So if you have a good, legit question without attacking me, I'd be more than welcome to answer it in a video. So that's all I got today, guys. Loves. Bye.